I'm not gonna lie, I do like the new intro. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Like, I had to change the music because the music I used for 20 years in the business is copyrighted. Even if you put like just a tiny smidge of copyrighted anything, you get dinged. I know a couple good brothers who had their whole show just ripped off of YouTube because they talked about sports gambling and stuff like that, which apparently you can't do that either. That's all right. We can talk about wrestling. That's why we're here. That's why I'm here. That's why you should be here too. Hi, everybody. It is the last of the old school Spiffy Sean Styles. It's good to be with you. It's been a minute. Last weekend, I was out in beautiful St. Louis, Missouri for the SICW Fanfest 4. Thank you again to Herb Simmons and his amazing staff of people out there who took such great care of me, and they sure didn't have to. And then obviously getting a chance to brother with some of my wrestling buddies. I forgot that I hadn't really checked in until senior official Mark Charles put me on a wellness check. Basically said, "Spiffy, I haven't heard from you since you went home." Well, that'll be part of the story because it involves Teddy Long and the unpredictable Johnny Rods. And I mean, we call that in the business, we call that a teaser. You guys have to listen for a while. But no, SICW was awesome. I met a lot of these people through the Cauliflower Alley and a couple other things that I've done with wrestling outside of the Pittsburgh area. It's been great. It's been really nice, and none of that would have happened if not for Lord Zoltan needing somebody to drive him to the strip club. But thank you for that. Happy to take you anytime. And so now we have, I think the next one, unless I figure out something between now and July, which I might, because there's a lot of brothering going on in St. Louis, and turns out I'm not bad at the wrestling convention stuff, which I did. We did WrestleCon for Vegas, and it was insane. It was too much. Really, it was too much. Like getting it didn't even get a chance to talk to some of my friends who are literally right across the aisle from me and Rip Rogers and Leilani Kai and our little booth over there because of just how insane it was. By Sunday, we were all basically zombies, which is fine because I get to sit down Sunday evening and watch night 2 of WrestleMania with Rip Rogers next to me and Matt and Jeff from the Hardy Boys right in front of me, and pretty much nobody else. We had an entire like big ass convention room with just a couple old school Harkers just hanging out and eating pizza and watching WrestleMania, which was not a terrible end to what at times was a challenging experience, but also a very sort of cathartic experience. You know what I mean? Like it was great. My friend Ashley, God bless anybody that puts up with professional wrestlers, period, full stop. But on top of that, find a couple older guys with a chip on their shoulder and the degree of insecurity that I have, and being the adult poster child for ADHD, and still somehow trying to be focused enough to make sure that we get Rip's new T-shirts out on the table and all that kind of stuff. One of the great things about SICW last weekend in St. Louis is it was contained. It wasn't as big. It wasn't as peoply. It wasn't as peoply. And I speak for both ends of it, for talent, and thank you for loosely defined from talent that was there. It's nicer because I think there's a better opportunity to sort of connect with the fans and meet some friends and everything like that. From a fan standpoint, I imagine it was great because same thing. You guys have a lot more access at some of those conventions than you might at those big kind of WrestleCon things. And nothing like WrestleCon was great. And Josh and his team do an amazing job dealing with, quite frankly, just like a mass of humanity and wrestlers and everything like that. So that's a little overwhelming. But one of the things, weirdly, my brain has always been good at is sort of like the process and the planning side of like those kind of things. I think a lot of it is from doing the music and having such a background in entertainment, even more so than professional wrestling, just because it gives you a different kind of like set of eyes. And it's a testament to how great of a promoter somebody like Herb Simmons is, because he's able to, even with his 50 years in the business or whatever it is, even with his experience and his success and his knowledge, he's still somebody that goes, "Oh, hey, no, thank you," because that's a different thing than I'm used to. Or, "Hey, thank you for that feedback because that's something, I could take into consideration moving forward." And those are kind of the marks of, well, obviously the successful people in probably not just wrestling, but that's a life thing more than that's an Uncle Spiffy life hack right there. Take advice. Even if you don't agree with it, I mean, it's good to know what other people are saying sometimes. I know me, like being a neuro spicy entrepreneur, which I am, like a lot of time the way that I think about things is not the way that other people think about things. Now, for better or worse, and it can be both. If we're being honest with each other, and on my show, we generally are. It can go both ways because you're going to have people, especially in the entertainment business or the wrestling business. It's a very egocentric. It's a business built on a lot of people that are trying to be public facing and everything like that. So there's a certain degree of, what does he know? And that's fine. I generally, my rule of thumb is you ask for advice and stuff from people that kind of are where you want to be or have been where you want to be, those kind of things. It's something that came up a lot at the convention where, and actually Jack Vaughn actually made a post about this. Shout out to Mr. Vaughn about just being a little more of a gatekeeper to the business. I had the opportunity to talk with a lot of people about my foray into the business, which happened in the late 90s, believe it or not. I was a teenager. I was a kid. I was writing for a website called Scoops Wrestling back in the day and, worked my way up kind of the old school way from like sweeping floors to doing backstage interviews to ring announcing to, whatever, until eventually a couple guys were like, "Hey, you're 6'1", 235 at the time," which I'm 6'1", I'm 6'1", 235 now. That's crazy. I mean, I'm in 20-year-old spiffy shape. Well, minus a gallbladder and a triple fused neck and things like that, and a lack of meniscus. But I mean, I'm mostly there. I still have decent hair, which I know is a heat magnet for a lot of people, but that's okay. No, we're talking about just gatekeeping a little bit more because there are so many people in the wrestling business now, and there isn't the same sort of process or protection that used to exist in the business when there were only a few schools, or if you had to know a guy who knew a guy, or you sent money into Johnny Rods in the back of the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine, and went to his school or whatever. Like, I mean, it was a very different time. To now, you have guys that aren't really that trained themselves that are now trying to train other people to wrestle, which is like, it's like you can't be a cook if you don't know how to turn on a stove, and you sure as shit shouldn't be showing anybody else how to cook a steak if you've never really done one yourself. But I digress. That wasn't the point. The point was getting to work with Herb and his staff of people that were so accommodating and so willing to listen and take advice. And obviously, weirdly, I think one of the reasons I like those events is you have guys that have been in the business longer than I've been alive, and getting the opportunity to getting an opportunity to be friends with and speak with, and now to get a chance to work with people like Rip Rogers and Leilani Kai, and sit and talk with Teddy Long and Johnny Rods and those sorts of people, and have them give me sort of the it's nothing you would have ever thought. Like, teenage me would have never thought that would have been kind of where I'd be, kind of almost full circle coming back to the business at this point. But here we are. And it's why wrestling is effing awesome. It's one of my favorite things in the universe, and that's why. And last weekend was a great reinforcer for why professional wrestling is so good. Just as a shout out to, my Canadian friends who drove 10 hours just to come down and brother around and everything like that. And, you know, I had this conversation last year with a couple of workers who were sort of grumbling about conventions. And, sometimes fans are a little less respectful of boundaries and things like that. If you follow wrestling, you see the stories of people in the air, bugging people in the airports and stuff like that. And listen, I get it. My problem is the other side. Before I forget, if you were at SICW and you got any pictures with me, of me, whatever, I know I've got a couple from like Brothering Up and a great lunch with Joe Helms and Tanya and KG and Chris, like, or like with Andrew Anderson and Karen and beautiful puppies and babies. And I have a demographic, and to get everything in one picture was sort of cool, but I lost all the pictures. So I do a terrible job of documenting things. And a lot of that is, when I broke into the business, A, there were no cell phones because I'm old, but B, it wasn't a thing like where like you would go to like somebody in the locker room and say, hey brother, can I get a picture with you? Like while you're working on the same show. Back then they would, call you a Mark and the older guys. That just wasn't how the business was. And then it might have been Scott Hall actually, who we were doing a weird TV thing and was basically said, hey, almost the other side of it. Don't be a Mark. Take the picture, bro. You're gonna want that picture because some of our friends aren't with us anymore, and you're gonna want to have that picture. So I apologize again for being terrible at content for a content creator, for an influencer, for whatever you want to call me, dickhead, usually dickhead. But like for all of that, I'm terrible at taking the pictures and sort of doing that. So anybody who wants to take pity on me and my lack of social media skills, uh, that'd be awesome. The flip side of that, which is crazy, is I do this and do this pretty well. And now I've got wrestling companies that don't want to do live commentary and don't really have anybody to put their shows together. And they're reaching out for that, which is literally sort of my dream. Like I was having this conversation this morning where as much as I love doing voiceover stuff, as much as I love doing, the pretend rock star stuff, as much as I still love wrestling and being involved in the business, wrestling, there's a few people that get to pay their bills exclusively in the professional wrestling business. And if that's one of you, God bless you. You have busted your ass and or knew the right people to get to a point where that is a possibility for you. Most, and most musicians too. I mean, most musicians are weekend guys or guys that write their own songs, but don't really get any traction with it. They do it for the love of the game. Most wrestlers are, $20 and, hot dog and a handshake guys. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I hate the negative connotation that goes with that. If you are trying to get better, there are ways for you to do that. I would you to reach out to me. I know a guy named Rip Rogers that does seminars and camps, and we're looking for more opportunities for Rip to do that. He's got that sort of resume where if you are serious about being successful in the business, those are sort of the people you should be seeking out. Not local, wrestling guy, whatever. I mean, he might be great, but or you can go to the guy who, trained John Cena and Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar and Shelton Benjamin and Serena Deeb and Victoria and the 70 other, that's also an option for you. We were talking about the old Funkin' Dojo camps. My buddy Corey Graves was real big on that stuff when he was literally 17 years old. His Dan the Man was nice enough to send him down to Dory's camp, and getting 2 weeks with Dory Funk, I think now we can say probably a little more valuable than going down to the local, indie wrestling guy and letting him train you. So that's, again, I'm on several different diatribes here, but that's sort of what I do. It's why when I've got Ashley with me, we get to do the Mount Rushmore things. Like at least there's a format involved in that. Otherwise, it's me in a studio just talking to a camera, which I'm okay with. Faith, Tina, you guys, Tina, I'm excited to see you. And the messed up thing is I've done nothing for that, and there's people that have reached out about the Hall of Fame in Iowa in July. Cauliflower Alley's got their big event in August. Tickets are available to both. There's already hotels reserved for people that are looking to go to both. I encourage you to go to both. They are two vastly different experiences, but are both awesome. Again, you'll see a lot of the same legends. And that's one of the things I've learned is you'll see, there's some of the guys that just kind of work the scene, the con scene. But then you also have people that kind of like OG, like that's their thing. So do both. I mean, listen, I'm going to tell you to consume as much wrestling as you can possibly consume, just because you know I'm also the guy staying up till 4 in the morning to watch New Japan live. But you know, I'm a lunatic, as we all probably know. If you're watching live, if there's anything you guys want to talk about, please let me know. This is again a very impromptu podcast. It was legitimately me doing work this morning and then realizing that I hadn't checked in a while. And that's on me. Again, thank you for you guys checking in on me, because I often will forget that, I haven't been in public since I flew back from St. Louis. And sometimes I need that reminder, if that makes sense. I've got a sleeping puppy next to me. He is a good boy. No, he's always a good boy. He's such a good boy. No, but the point of this one, just to check in with you guys, was to say thank you again for the SICW experience. It's so nice. It's so nice to see wrestling presented in such a positive light. And it can be like everything else. It can be a negative business. It can be, you can surround yourself with people that do nothing except kind of like talk about other people. And I was like that when I was like 19 years old. you know, very much had that sort of like insecurity, and sort of needed to like have that attitude. I thought, which obviously you don't, but you're 19. What do you know? Literally had this conversation with a kid who's training out in Vegas, who, I swear to God, I forgot his name. I'm so sorry, brother. Because you should be Sweet Ron, because he looked exactly like Ron Funches. And if Red Cuff Jeff or anybody from the FSW arena knows who I'm talking about, he was awesome. He went to the store and got Red Bulls for me. Like, we had a great like sitting in the lobby conversation before Red Cup Jeff brothered me up to the point where I accidentally kayfabed the Good Brothers, because I had to jump in an Uber and get myself out of there, because it was a long day of wrestling in beautiful, hot Las Vegas. Such a hot town. But it's one of the cool things about the conventions is you get the opportunity to talk to people who love wrestling. And, you know, wrestling, like everything else in the arts, is very subjective. I've had this conversation for a long time, and I will continue to have this conversation, like, where I'm maybe not a death match sort of guy, but I like a certain style of wrestling, and you can have that. It's like ice cream. Pick your flavor. If you're a good wrestling promoter, you've got different. Herb, I've been putting you over for the past 20 minutes. If you have different flavors of ice cream, that's okay. You don't have to, oh, that guy only likes, birthday cake ice cream, which is the best ice cream, by the way. I'll fight. No, I don't eat all the ice cream. I'm lactose intolerant. Of all the things that go wrong with my gut, try to stay away from dairy. Also, because of the voice stuff, you don't want a lot of like mucus and stuff. So it's literally just pretty much whiskey and water for me. It keeps me under control. Usually. I forgot what I was going to say, because Herb's here now and I feel bad. I was over here just putting him over so much. And now I'm like, shucks. Oh, shucks, Herb. Thanks for having me. Um, here's something where, if you know me at all, and I know Faith and Tina, you guys go way back. If you know like how much I like to work, not just wrestling, but just like work in general, like, shout out to my boy KG one more time, because one of the things that we talked about before, he was, hey, I'm going to St. Louis too. And he does a podcast. It's great. You should definitely check out his podcast. He does like 3 or 4 podcasts a week. You want to talk about a guy who's like working? That guy works, and I'm lucky I can remember to do this once a week, if that, which I'm not, but I'm trying. Don't judge me. Shut up. Not really. But like KG was saying the same thing. Like, he was, his entire thing about going to FanFest was he wanted to do a convention where wasn't working, like consciously, like not working. And ended up working more than I did anyway. Did a great job with the Mick Foley and Barbara Goodish events. Barb is one of my favorite people on the planet. She is the wife of the late great Bruiser Brody. Every time I get a chance to talk to her, she's just the sweetest. Brought my guitar to St. Louis because there's another rock and wrestler that was on the card, and because Herb used a promo picture for the event that had me with a guitar in it. So I figured, I'll lean in. Listen, that's the old school brother. I'll just, whatever you guys want me to do, I'll do. Cool. I'm that guy tonight. Sure is. But Barb kind of like in the elevator, like, I can't wait to hear you. I'm like, well, we'll see. I'm just here for the ride. And that's because of friends like KG try to get me to calm down once in a while. And that's been very, very helpful to me and my mental health, which May is Mental Health Awareness Day. Check on your boys, check on your girls, check on your, check on people you don't like. You know what I mean? Like, I assume you're not the kind of person that wakes up and like chooses violence or like, I mean, I know you're out there. I know you people do exist because sometimes you find me and that's sad, really sad, but not typically in my orbit. So the important thing is the wrestling business, especially one of the reasons I love Cauliflower Alley and events like Herb just put on is you have an opportunity to check in with some of those old school brothers and sisters that paved the way in the wrestling business. And it's weird to think about it, but they're, you know, if they're 70 years old now, they're somebody's annoying dad, you know, like they're lonely, like they're done, they're out of the business. You know what I mean? Like where it's like or they're not as involved in the business. And it's one of the things. If you are in the wrestling business or you know people that are in the wrestling business, it is very much a fraternity and a brotherhood of people that work there. And one of the great things about it is there's a lot of times I can catch up with people that I haven't talked to in 5 years and we pick right back up. And that's great. And that's one of the things I love about professional wrestling. However, keep in mind, there are people that you haven't talked to in 20 years that maybe nobody else has talked to in 20 years. Tina, it's going to be an amazing time. I have an actual booked show. I have to follow up with the venue. This is for real. I forget the name of it. It's in my messengers, whatever like that. But like, there's a venue out in Waterloo that booked me for an acoustic show for after the wrestling event on the 11th. So there's going to be. I have to catch up on it. This is where like I've been just so scattered that I'm catching up on like voiceover work and just trying to stay up, stay high. But I have to follow up on that for sure. Ash, what's up, girl? We have to my partner in crime, the unicorn. We have to probably do some content at some point. Yeah, no. If you believe in that kind of thing. I'm very excited about July. I haven't booked anything in true Spiffy fashion. I haven't booked a room. I haven't done anything with my flight yet, but we'll get there. Talk? Yeah. Are we not talking? Do you not hear me? Well, now I'm confused. I hope I'm okay. There's people watching, so I hope you guys, nobody else is saying anything. So I hope Ash just, maybe YouTube has me muted if that's where she's watching me. It looks like. But yeah, July is going to be awesome. But again, there's other conventions. I'm supposed to be working for a company in West Virginia on Saturday. I forget the name of them. SCWA. I think it's a great group of kids. They love wrestling, and I'm excited to. Yeah, there. Thank you. No, it's fine. Listen, it's the problem. It's like I'm a guy, so anytime a girl says anything along the lines of "Hey, we need to talk," I immediately go into "Uh-oh." First of all, my first reaction, not even though it's just me, is what did I do this time? I'm so sorry. And that's the default setting. And it should be, guys. If you know women that are telling you that they need to talk to you, you're doing something wrong. Probably. Stop doing it, or just tell them you're sorry. Thank you, ladies. It's something I've learned over my time. Wrestling's good for it too, because sometimes communication is not as good in the wrestling business as it is elsewhere. All right, does anybody have any questions while you got me here? Like I said, I just wanted to check in with you. I'll let you all know that I'm okay. All that fun stuff. I'm rested and finally caught up from last weekend. Aside from work, which is why I got to get back to it. But I wanted to check in with you guys before that. Oh, the stalker stuff I think is figured out. Shout out to my Geek Squad people who found a bunch of the viruses and the malware and all that stuff that she put in there. So we are fingers crossed out of the woods with that. So with that said, and being in a happy spot, I'm going to go do some work. You guys should too. It's Friday. Stop slacking off and watching guys in pink shirts on the internet. Get back to work, all of you. You're all in trouble. Not really. I'm probably the only one in trouble. But follow me on the Facebook or MySpace, all that stuff. The links are all scrolling right up here. You can find them. Till then, I'll see you guys. Thank you again, Herb Simmons. Thank you again, SICW. Thank you again, professional wrestling fans and all the people that put up with me. Love you guys. Mean it.